Hey, welcome back to the channel, my fellow weather junkies. I'm your host, Greg Majeski, your personal weatherman, bringing you the weather without all that social media hype here on your Saturday, November 30th, 2024. Let's go and take a look at what we're tracking here for today. So I want to let you know if it's going to be a travel headache or it's going to be a traveler's delight out there for today. There may be some headaches around across some parts of the country. We'll show you those here in just a second. We're also going to be talking about a clipper system that'll be bringing in some snows. That's those systems that dive in out of Canada with limited moisture, but they can definitely enhance the snows, especially across the Great Lakes. We'll talk about that. And we're also going to talk about a potential mid-month pattern shift coming our way, which means the cold air that's currently sitting in the east looks like that's going to be staying put, at least for a couple of weeks, and it'll stay relatively milder out in the west. Now, before we get into this edition, I first want to thank the 18 new subscribers here to the channel. Yes, welcome on board. And if you haven't yet subscribed, please do this poor little weatherman a favor. Please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you learn about future content. And if you like what you see, please leave a comment, give me a thumbs up down below. It does help with YouTube algorithm as we continue to grow just a little bit every day. All right, let's go take a look at our latest satellite imagery out here for this morning. We do have a little disturbance here in the middle of the country that's actually dumping some snows here coming into Missouri, and this is going to spread across portions of Kentucky and move off toward the east. Got a little moisture up here along the Canadian border up here in the northwest, but otherwise, most of the country up and down the east coast looking pretty good. Around here across the south looking good. And we still do have those lake effect snows that are hitting the areas around the Great Lakes as that cold air blows over those warmer waters of the Great Lakes and dumping that snows there. Now, here's where the current advisories are. Obviously, we got a pretty good freeze here going on here across the deep south. These are winter weather advisories here from Missouri all the way over to West Virginia going in from today and into tomorrow. So any travelers in this little narrow band in here will need to watch out for some slick road conditions because it's plenty cold. May be some icy spots there. And of course, anywhere along the Great Lakes, you see here along Lake Michigan, for example, and the hot zones there across areas of Ohio and into Pennsylvania, getting a little bit of a break, but that's really going to be firing up here a little bit more as we head to later into the week. Now let's go ahead and talk about our airport delays. Right now, no major headaches out there weather-related wise across the country. But again, Detroit, Chicago, Cleveland, those areas need to watch out, especially as we go into tomorrow. Now, let's go ahead and talk about our current surface map. Look at these readings down here. We got readings down here below zero up here across the Dakotas and in through Minnesota. Again, here's those snows that are spreading across portions of southern Illinois into Missouri here, and this will continue to move off toward the east, spreading those snowy conditions there. Very frigid temperatures. Look at 23 in Birmingham, 33 down in Dothan. So we got that cold air all the way to the Gulf Coast. They're even down into the 50s down into Florida, and even by their standards, that's a little nippy for those folks down there. So this cold pattern is settled in, so we're going to cut the country pretty much in half, staying colder over here and milder here in the west. Let's take a look at some of these snows up here. Again, still got that training effect of these snows that continue to come off of Lake Erie and pushing into areas of Pennsylvania there and into New York. So this is in southern New York, Pennsylvania just a little bit further south. So it looks like it's going to continue to maintain this snowy conditions. In fact, I can share a little video of some of these conditions that are produced when you get these kind of snow bands coming off. It'll be interesting to see tomorrow. There's Buffalo there. If that wind shifts around this way, if they get the snows in for the Bills game for tomorrow. Always like looking at lake effect snows during a snowy football game. All right, let's go ahead and talk about what we're going to see here as far as thunderstorms, anything out there in the short term. And the answer to that question is no. I don't have to worry about that. In fact, nothing expected from the Storms Prediction Center for the next 3 days. We're also not going to have to worry about any potential heavy rainfall for the next 3 days, as we really don't have any major storm systems to kind of generate that kind of weather. So some good news there. Now, as far as the climate, the hazards outlook right now is concerned, again, we're just talking about the Great Lakes. That's our main concern there. And obviously, we got the freezing conditions here across the Gulf Coast down there. Folks getting their first freezes down in that part of the country. Other than that, really not looking bad. But the big thing is we're talking cold weather and we're talking about snowy conditions here for the short term. So let's go ahead and talk about the latest here as far as the high resolution model. We're looking at your short-term forecast here, kind of taking you through here the next 42 hours going in here through Saturday and through Sunday. So the big story here that we're going to watch here for today again is that moisture. This is this little moisture. It's not a whole lot again, but it's this little pocket here that's going to be dumping that snows across those areas where you saw those winter weather advisories. Obviously, we still got the plumes of snow coming in off the Great Lakes. That'll continue. That freezing line, that 540 line, is way far south, again, to where that cold air that's currently in place, and it's going to stay there through the weekend. No major changes. But you see that snow, little weak system there kind of moving right through Kentucky, dumping some snows, and then kind of winding up there into portions of West Virginia. Obviously, as that runs into the Appalachians, maybe a little bit slight enhancement there with that, and that'll continue to move off toward the east. But that's about it. That's the only region, that little slither there from Missouri over into West Virginia and the Great Lakes. Those are the big travel headaches here that you're going to expect as you go through Saturday and Sunday. As a lot of folks go on home, wrapping up their Thanksgiving Day weekend. So looking pretty good here for the short-term forecast. Let's talk long-term, and we're going to be looking specifically at the jet stream. The jet stream, which drives the weather conditions across the country. All right, so as we go ahead and continue this, as we go in through early next week, we've got this big, huge trough here as we go in through Monday. This trough is staying in place, and you can see that very clearly here. Here's the jet stream coming on way far down here to the south. So that's driving in that cold air across here, the eastern third, as temperatures moderate here out in the west, and that'll continue to hold true here mostly for the next 10 days. I don't see any big changes here. What we are going to see is a series of these impulses that are going to continue to ride in and out of Canada. We call them Alberta type systems, and what that means is they kind of form up here near Alberta, Canada, and then they drive across the Great Lakes, kind of reinforcing the cold air that's in place. And as that colder winds blow over those waters, it keeps that lake effect snow machine going. So we're still going to be adding a lot to those totals, so already impressive totals. So here's another little shot coming in here as we head in toward your Wednesday. That's one little clipper system moving in there. Kind of flattens out. Looks like as we head toward the 8th and 9th, we get a little bit of a break here, just a little bit. We got still cold conditions there in the northeast, and it starts to flatten out a little bit. You know, we got a little bit of a zonal flow here. We got a little cutoff flow here across areas of Texas. This will bring in some rains here across the southern tier of the states as we go into the next few days, going into the following week, going after this weekend. But we got another dive down. Here it comes. Boom. Here it comes coming on down here as we go in toward the 10th. So we got another shot coming in down. But this is going to grab some moisture, so we'll get some rains in here across the deep south as that next system kicks on in as we head toward the 9th of December. And this will move on out, and we got no trough in place. Boom, that stays in there going toward the 11th. So again, this pattern's going to hold true, maybe a day of moderation across the southeast, but then this holds in. Now, what I was talking about yesterday, are we going to see a trend where we're seeing the models begin to show indications of a shift to the cold air out west? And the answer to that question is yes. It's still showing that. As I take this on out, you'll notice this is part of the jet stream here starts to dive south here into the west, and it's going to allow things to moderate out here in the east. Again, this is going out toward the 14th and 15th. So we got a trough now starting to build out here in the west. You got a little subtropical there, and things begin to moderate here across the east. Now, this is beyond the current climate outlook, but it does appear that we're heading toward a shift. Now, if this does happen, what this is going to allow, this is allow some of the Gulf moisture to come in here, and we actually may get a healthy storm system develop. This is a little bit far out. Again, this is a projection. Anything going out that far, 360 hours, you know, that's just, we're kind of looking for the patterns. We're looking for continuity. Is it showing an overall pattern shift? And right now, we'll see if that continues as we go into the next few days to see if that continues to be a trend. Now, let's talk about the short term here going into the next 10 days or so with the precipitation. And we're just not going to see anything here, folks. No major storm systems here. We do have that one system coming in dive here across the Great Lakes. So we're talking about this area here. This is that Alberta Clipper system coming in toward the middle of the week. That's going to enhance these snows once again across the Great Lakes. Got a little rain down here across areas of South Texas, but that's about it for most of the country. The west continues to stay very, very quiet. But there's that snow augmentation with that cold air and that little clipper going across the Great Lakes. That'll enhance the snows there briefly on Wednesday, and that'll move it to the northeast. So it looks like we'll have some snowy weather Wednesday night for a lot of the interior sections there across the northeast. We're talking Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, New York, Albany, all the areas up there in Vermont and New Hampshire and Maine getting in some snowy actions there. Not a tremendous amount of snow, but it'll be nice and picturesque. And that'll go into your Thursday. So snowy northeast on Thursday. A little bit of rain here along the Gulf Coast, just a little bit there across Louisiana and to areas of Texas going through today on Thursday. That's in about a week. They're going toward December the 5th. So as we go toward the end of next week, and that'll kind of hold along the Gulf Coast. And it looks like temperatures moderate just a little bit going to the 8th and 9th. Notice that the cold air, the 540 line, is way up here, at least briefly. But don't worry, it's going to recharge. We got another pull air that's going to be coming down here as we go beyond the 9th, going to the 10th and 11th. Watch what happens here. Here we go, big dip here. We're going to pull some of that moisture up against that upper low. So we're going to get some rains here, some needed rains, obviously, across the southeast. We continue to fight some drought conditions down there. in Louisiana. Couldn't rule out some thunderstorms here as the cold air kind of drives out of that head of that brief warm surge out ahead of that system. This will push off toward the east in a nice cold core here. That's a pretty 504 on the heights on that. So that's some frigid air, probably right around 0 or below, right along the Great Lakes with that cold air. As this cold air just dives into the south, again, quiet and relatively milder out in the west. That'll continue as we head toward the 11th. Then as this goes ahead and pulls on off, and as you go take this all the way out, we start to see things begin to change. Again, that 540 line, that freeze line goes way back up toward the north, but then it starts diving down here toward the south, starting to show that colder transition there going toward the tail end of this model run out toward the west. Again, we'll be watching very closely to see if this will in fact come to fruition. It makes sense. Usually pattern is about 3 weeks or so, as I've mentioned before, and I think we might be seeing that as we head toward the middle of the month. 10-day rainfall totals here. Again, we're going to get the heaviest here along the Gulf Coast states. This is that system coming in here toward the 10th and 11th as we get some rains across areas of the Kentucky and into areas of Alabama and Georgia. The Great Lakes continue to light up like a Christmas tree. That's going to continue to be that way. And, of course, staying very dry out here in the west because of just lack of storm systems out there. So we're not going to get that as we head for the next 10 days, taking you into the 9th of December. Snowfall totals over the next 10 days, those continue to light up basically across the Great Lakes. Again, we're going to see that little sliver of that little bit of snow there falling here for today and into tomorrow there across Missouri back over into West Virginia. West Virginia might enhance a little bit as that moves on in there, a little bit higher amounts there for the most part. But again, the continues to be the big problem is going to be there across the Great Lakes states. That's the area of main concern. I'm going a little bit closer here. As you can see, we continue to see those impressive amounts there, and we're continuing to see feet of snow again on the leeward side of those lakes. The Great Lakes will need to be watching. Again, some of these snowfall projections of the Weather Service, I know near Watertown, New York, for example, is still talking about maybe 70 inches of snow. You can kind of see it right there. Definitely quite a bit of action there across the Great Lakes. All right, let's go ahead and talk about what we're seeing here as far as the temperature anomaly map. Again, you see those greens and those blues and things like that. Those are temperatures running well below normal. And when you get into purples, we're really talking about some cold stuff here. So this trend's going to hold true. We're going to keep this, again, on the cold side as we start the new work week. But you notice how things are definitely moderating out here in the west as temperatures will be running above average. But a lot of the east here looking at below average here for this new work week coming up. So jackets will definitely need to be required, scarves and gloves and things like that. So as we continue, we start seeing a little bit of moderation, but we got another recharge coming as this kind of pulls on here across the north here. So watch this as we go in through the 5th. This comes on in. There's that one Alberta Clipper system in the middle of the week. That's that Wednesday system that we just talked about, enhancing the snows across the Great Lakes and going into the northeast as we go toward the 6th and 7th. Then we get that slight moderation. We get a recharge here. This pulls all out. Look as we go toward the 9th. Hey, look at that. We get rid of that. We got a nice little warm up here across the middle of the country. Not looking bad, but we're going to get another shot here, folks. That's just a one-day reprieve as we got another cold shot coming on down. Here it comes. Boop. Here we go. Going toward the 10th and 11th. This will spread across most of the east once again as we're kind of holding this pattern where okay, right of this line we're staying cold. Left of this line we're going to stay on the chilly side. That's the way that's looking as we head toward the 12th. And then obviously if that pattern change begins to take place, we'll say goodbye to this cold air. We'll push this on out and notice how temperatures begin to moderate here across the big portion of the country, except maybe down here across the southeast just a little bit. And then we're seeing the colder temperatures out here in the west begin to show its head after basically about a 2 or 3 week period where we're staying with temperatures above average. So let's go ahead and talk about what the Climate Prediction Center is showing here. Let's see if they're kind of showing what we're seeing here, and pretty much they're in agreement. Now, this is going out from days 6 through 10, so it's going through the 5th through the 9th. Cold in the east, mild in the west. This has not changed, nothing to see here, and that'll continue through the 13th. Now, it's beyond the 13th. We're looking at the 14th and 15th where the blue might start moving it over here and the red shifts the other way. So if we get that pattern shift here to take place, we'll see if that happens as we head toward the middle of the week. Now, middle of the month. Now, I'm going to bring this up in the sense that if we get a pattern shift like that, and we're back to the old pattern again, we may be heading toward Christmas where it is going to be milder here in the east and colder in the west. We'll see. It's a little bit early. We'll see if that's a trend, but I'll be watching the North Atlantic Oscillation very closely on that to see if that pattern holds or not. Obviously, drier conditions here in the west and out here toward the east. A little definitely wetter here across Texas and the high plains, and that pretty much holds true going out from the 7th to the 13th. Again, if the pattern change shifts, this will also turn greener as we head toward a little bit later into the month of December. So again, be careful for anybody there in that little area there, part of the country that may see some snow. It doesn't take a whole lot of snow to cause some icy spots, especially on those roads with temperatures, you know, down in the 20s. Those roads can bridges and overpasses, things like that. So please be careful if you run across that. Stay away from the Great Lakes snow dump zones, those typical areas that can dump a lot of snow. The warm waters, or the relatively warmer waters of the Great Lakes, which are above normal, are just dumping tremendous amounts of snow, and that will continue here. Don't see any big changes there really for the next 10 days, as that'll continue to be a problem. All right, that's good. That is your update here for today. Again, I appreciate everybody supporting the channel here, and if you haven't yet subscribed, come on, help us continue this positive growth. It's good to see that we're moving in the right direction. Please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you're your content. And if you like what you see, if there's something you'd like to see as part of this report, as this report is for your needs, please just post it down below, let me know, and just send me a message, and I do appreciate your support. All right, that's your update for now. You guys take it easy, be good, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.